listen to a speaker like Paritosh Basu, you learn two eyes. You are affected. There are two eyes. The first one is inferiority complex after hearing it. And the second one is inspiration. So I believe in going for the inspiration and not for the inferiority complex. Thank you, sir, for inspiring all of us. I request Mr. B.M. Sharma, Chairman of the session, to give his concluding words.
Dignitaries on dais and off the dais. Friends, before starting of the session, Dr. Basu was telling that I want to take so much time, and thereafter I said, sir, let me go through your presentation. And you take your own time. I am not going to take your time, but I would like to give my own time also to you, because I know Dr. Basu what he can make impact in the auditorium. And sir, I am also not going to take any risk of talking something on your presentation by which this audience will tell me, stop it. So in this short, I will summarize my chairmanship and I will say, sir, it's an excellent presentation. You are not only touch upon the points or focus, but in the different directions you are given. The very one thing which I would like to mention here, because it is near and dear to me, I always focus on those things right from the day one. I entered in the council, started my practice, entered in the council, become past president and now past president. But I always focus on those things which you have said in your one presentation. I am not going to give the examples of all the slides, but one slide which touched me very deeply, that is, don't challenge your limits, limit your challenges. And yes, friends, this message to be carried today from this presentation. We CMS have always limited our challenge to cost control, cost audit and cost records. This is the biggest limitation of our profession. We never thought, even somewhere in the morning, somebody was referring taxation with chartered accountant, I refute that claims. I say many CFOs who is only a cost accountants and doing wonders in all the areas, including a taxation, whether it's direct or whether it's indirect. So what I mean to say, friends, don't limit yourself by being a cost accountant. I am only focusing on the cost. Please focus on various other areas. Even the new younger generation who just recently started practice after 2011 notifications, my request to them, don't get disheartened. You have ample areas. You have seen the presentation of Dr. Basu, and if thereafter also if you are not motivated, then I am sorry to say you are limiting yourself. There are ample areas, taxation, where you cannot say that this is not my area. Rather, on the contrary, the different professionals, other professional colleagues can say this is the only our area. But for you, the sky is the limit because you are a management accountant. So with that, thank you, Dr. Basu, for enlightening us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to make one point, is that I have a meeting at Kandivali at 2:30 for my consulting appointment, followed by another meeting with the Vice Chancellor of our university. So I have to just rush down. Yeah. Now, so what I am trying to apologize is that if you have any questions, my website address is there, my personal website is there, and my personal address is there with you. I am available because I am giving you the YOLO rose, which is the sign of friendship.
Your request, Icmai Dinesh Birla, Secretary WRC, to give his vote of thanks. I thank Dr. Basu for giving a very excellent presentation. Thank you, sir. I also thank Mr. B.M. Sharma for presiding this technical session. I also thank Mr. R.B. Kothari for being present here. I thank all the audience. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I have to move now.
The technical session 1 ends now, and we have immediately we will start the second session. Please be seated.
No, I have to.
Before we start, Ashok Nawalji will felicitate Mr. CMA BM Sharma. As the time is passing, the appetite is increasing. We have got arrangements for lunch after this session, so don't worry about it. But the appetite for knowledge is also increasing, and there is a very good faculty available for this session, Dr. Shailesh Gandhi, who is an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. It is called as PGDBA actually, and he is also a member of CASB, that is Cost Accounting Standards Board, and a professor, associate professor in IIM Ahmedabad, the same institute. He has got a vast experience in consulting and industry. He has worked with Institute of Rural Development, Anand. Then he has also worked with Ferguson and consulting, and he has organized various programs in Bangkok, China, Egypt, Dubai and other parts. So he is a global personality, and I hope that all of you will enjoy this last session before the lunch. Thank you.
Since Professor Basu talked about SME and he preferred to speak from the ground, I have decided to take you one step ahead from SME to migration to MNC. So I would prefer to stand here and speak to you. My association with the institute began in 2008-2009. Let me be very clear. I am not a member of either of the institutes. I am a chemical engineer by profession, but did my PhD in accounting and finance from IIM Ahmedabad and worked in industry for about 18 years and then joined the academics plan with my own institute IIM Ahmedabad. So, but institute was kind enough to invite me as a professional on the Cost Accounting Standard Board, and my association has continued since 2008-2009 with the institute. And I have been also participating in this kind of conventions and conference. Let's say I was there in Goa convention, I was there in Investor convention in Ahmedabad, and last month I was invited by Bahrain chapter of Institute of Cost Accountants and Chartered Accountants to speak and address their members in Bahrain. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm strictly going to stick to the topic given to me, which is the improving bottom line through improving cost efficiency. And whatever I'm going to present, I'm not going to prescribe anything, right? You are the best people, you are from the field, you know best how to go about your job of the cost management, cost control, etc. So I'm not going to prescribe on those aspects. But whatever I'm going to speak to you is based on our vast experience with the several organizations with which we are working and which I have worked in the past. What is the meaning of bottom line? Is it a performance metric or a set of metrics? How is it to be calculated? right? All of you are professionals, and when I take you through a range of bottom line measures, there are challenges in terms of whether the numerator and denominator which you use in computing those bottom line metrics, whether it makes sense. How does a performance metric like bottom line fit into overall organizational performance measurement and management system? We are talking of improving bottom line, but for what? What does that signify when we say that we want to improve the bottom line? So basically what we are talking about is that we as professionals are responsible for designing and implementing and helping the organizations to develop a performance measurement and management system. Here when I say PMS, it is organizational performance measurement rather than the individual performance measurement, which of course enters into individual appraisal at a later stage. What is PMS? It's an integral mechanism for implementation or execution of the business strategies or the organizational strategy. Now, before I define bottom line and I take you through the cost competency and the relationship with the two, let me just put the framework in perspective. Now, when we talk of developing a PMS, it begins with the strategy formulation or strategy review. So, when we ask the question, why organizations go back to the drawing board periodically and assess and review their business strategies, and the answer lies in the environment. The organization is facing both external and internal environments, and any changes in these environmental dimensions are the triggers for organizations to go back to the drawing board and review their business strategies. The dimensions are very well known. External environment could be economic, political, social and global, and the internal environment could be a change of a leader, CEO changes or the leader changes, or there could be mergers and acquisitions and the issues arising out of such M&A activities. So essentially when we look at a framework, we have a strategy formulation or a review process. The outcome is what we call vision document, strategic plan, long range plan, and a set of strategies associated with them to achieve those strategies, and then we execute the business strategies. Execution involves a series of coordinated decisions and investments over time, leading an organization towards the established goal. For example, in Vision 2020 document aims at doubling the turnover by 2020 from whatever current level of turnover is there. You have a set of business strategies to achieve that particular vision document. Now, if you say that I am going to expand my turnover or double my turnover, there are different strategies. For example, introduce new product service portfolio, or introduce the new geographies in which you are operating, or develop alternative uses of your existing product portfolio. Now, that would expand the turnover of the company. Now, each of the business strategies would require different kind of coordinations. For example, if the organization is to pursue a new product service portfolio kind of a strategy, then it will require a lot of coordination with the market, customer orientation and customer requirements, with the product development department, and with the production and the subsequent back office operation. So execution requires a lot of coordination among various organizational units, and basically it involves realigning or aligning organization structure, organization culture, developing the skilled human resources, and alignment of internal control or internal business processes. So the focus of my talk is going to be on the last part of the aligning the internal business processes and the control dimension. So when you expand the framework, when we come to the strategy execution or implementation, it requires interaction of all the four dimensions of the right structure, right culture, human and other resources, and internal business processes. Now let me just take one more minute here. You would see that if you distill or extract business strategies and find some common elements across all organizations, you will find three common elements. One, cost leadership, because they are not able to differentiate product or service too much in the current scenario. So cost leadership, customer orientation, and the quality. But when you look at the organizations within the same sector, the degree of performance is not uniform. And the reason is that somewhere in execution of the business strategy, there were issues of either realigning the structure or realigning the business processes or realigning the culture. Just take a simple example. I am sure those of you who have a lot of experience, you would realize that when the organization becomes large and it grows suddenly, there are two dysfunctionalities. One, the organization becomes bureaucratic. The speed of response goes down. And the second thing which happens is that your internal business processes are not aligned. You are a 100 crore company, your current business processes are aimed at achieving or serving that level of turnover. But what if in 3 years' time or 5 years' time you become a 200 crore company or a 300 crore company? Your internal business processes are still there and they are still looking at 100 crore kind of a size of the organization. And that failure of the aligning of the business processes creates a lot of implications on the organizational performance. Now we come to the entering into the definition of a bottom line. We ask the question, how does the organization ensure that its strategies are successful or are working successfully? Any thought? Let's say I have a Vision 2020 document which says that I am going to double my turnover by 2020. And for that, I have a set of business strategies. How does the organization know that whatever you are doing, you are going in the right direction? Should you wait till 2020 and see whether you have arrived?
No.
So what essentially organization does?
ROI.
It periodically measures its actual performance across selected performance metrics and compare with the target values. And if this particular selected performance metrics are giving me the results or they are improving over a period of time, then I can say that I am moving in the right direction. And how does the organization do this? Comparing the actual performance with the budgeted performance is by developing a performance measurement system. What are the performance measures? You must have come across these terms, key result areas or key performance indicators. So when we talk of performance measures, they are nothing but current and future key performance indicators or key result areas. If they are improved over a period of time, then the organization is said to have successfully implemented its strategy. For example, if economic value added is a performance metric which you have selected, and if you are improving economic value added over a period of time, then there is an indication that whatever strategies you are pursuing are moving into the right direction. Or it could be return on net operating assets, or it could be return on investment, it could be pre-operating cash flows, whatever measures of performance you use. So expanding the framework, when I am doing my strategy formulation or review, I identify my KPIs or KRAs which identify the performance matrix and they enter into the performance management system. So my PMS first stage is to identify what performance matrix I am going to look at in different functional areas. For example, HR, the finance and accounting, then it could be production, it could be maintenance, it could be R&D, it could be affluent treatment, it could be quality assurance. You look at various organizational units and try to identify what are their KPIs, and those KPIs become the performance matrix. KPIs are of two types. One, perpetual. These KPIs remain with the organization irrespective of which phase of the business the organization is in. For example, the perpetual KPI could be profitability. The perpetual KPI could be customer centricity or customer focus or customer value delivery. Some of the KPIs are transient. They are there with the organization for a limited period of time. For example, cost of capital. Now, when you are pursuing a growth strategy, you might not have given a lot of thoughts about capital structure decisions, and you will end up with a situation where your capital structure has led to a very high weighted average cost of capital. Now, when you end up with this kind of a situation, it becomes a KPI because you know that higher the cost of capital, higher is the discount rate to be used for capex decisions, and hence the organization is missing several growth opportunities. And hence the organization needs to worry about the cost of capital, take it as a KPI and try to reduce as par with the whatever industry averages are there. Another example of transient KPI could be attrition rate, where people are leaving the organization and your attrition rate is higher than the industry average. Then organization has to worry about that and has to consider that as a KPI. The other dimension about KPI is that some of the KPIs are themselves the performance matrix. For example, attrition rate, cost of capital, etc., etc. Some of the KPIs are abstract and you need to define the metric related to that. For example, profitability. Now, profitability is a KPI, but the different organizations will have different metrics related to KPI, which is profitability. For example, I may use EBITDA, or I may use return on net operating assets, or I may use return on investment, or I may use economic value added, or I may use pre-operating cash flows. So the definition of KPI profitability, which translates into a metric, could be different for different organizations. Or you could have multiple performance metrics related to a KPI. Now we come to the second dimension, that I have to measure my actual performance with the targeted performance. I have identified metrics on which I will do this exercise. Now the next question comes, how do I set target values? Right? The target values of the matrix are set during budgeting process. Now all of you who are sitting here, who are part of the organization, you know that budgeting is a very, very important internal business process which sets the target values for the coming period. And hence it becomes very important